would have seen at least two people here. No one. 1, 2, check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. Good morning. Good afternoon. One, two, check, check, check. 1, 2. 1, 2. Maybe we're the only ones coming? I'm sorry? I said maybe we're the only ones coming.
That would be great. We'll give them 10 minutes and then break it down. Actually, I don't think we're allowed to do that. So, Cheryl mentioned, and Jack also mentioned, nobody in this debate is running opposed. Yeah. Because it is mandated that if we have elections, we have to have debates.
Elections? No one's voting. It's unanimous.
What? Why would they?
Why is there no one?
I mean, you don't get much out of it.
Sounds like the rest of the government.
Yeah.
I was wondering where Christine went this morning.
Probably shooting a dog somewhere.
Chinua said he had a meeting?
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe him. Too much meetings.
I don't love meetings myself.
Way too much meetings. And then he has to do athletics. What is he really doing with athletics?
Academic.
Rima, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Oh, okay. I wish I'd known y'all were running unopposed. I would have got some people to run against you. You know that.
I wish that I knew that too.
See a room full of people I know.
I guess I can start. I start.
L61. Is that you? Is that picture you?
It's my first day at Johnson.
Oh. I should have given extra credit for this. I could have filled a room up. Who's that coming in there? Oh. Or should I say floating?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2026-27 executive debate. Dear students, candidates, and John Jay community, both in person and in live stream, thank you for being here. Today we are celebrating democracy and having the annual executive candidate debate that will hopefully guide you all in making decisions for whom to vote for your next student government elections. Executive. My name is Rima Douglas, and I will be helping to facilitate this event with our moderator, Professor Elton Beckett. Professor Beckett will lead the debate and will outline the rules and times that all candidates must follow. We also have a time assistant, Anika, who will be the candidate's point person for the 15-second warning and then the time up alarm. Please be reminded that if time allows, audience members, both in person and on live stream, will be able to ask their questions. Make sure you submit all your questions by the latest 2:30 to the form. This will be our equitable way of ensuring questions are being asked by participating, joining people on live stream and in person. I will now pass the microphone, or the baton, to Professor Beckett to continue with the program.
Thank you, Rima. Welcome, candidates and guests. Thank you for the invitation to moderate this event. The rules are simple. Each candidate will have 1 minute and 15 seconds for opening statements and the same amount of time for closing statements. For questions, Rima will randomly select from the candidate question baskets. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Should you want to offer a rebuttal, you will have 1 minute to do so. You must raise your hand to offer a rebuttal. Time will be allocated after all candidates have spoken. The time assistant, where'd she go?
Right.
Oh, the time assistant will raise a sign to notify the candidate that there are 15 seconds left to wrap up. After your time has ended, we will move on to the next candidate. Thank you again for having me here with the candidates. We wish all the candidates the best of luck. We will now begin opening statements from our candidates. President candidate, Zephon Patterson.
Thank you, Professor Beckett. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Zephon Patterson, and I'm running to be your next Student Council President. I am a junior majoring in criminal justice with a minor in English, a first-generational college student, and your current Student Council Vice President. Firstly, I would like to thank the Most High, for without him, none of this could have been possible. Secondly, a special thanks to the moderator and staff for putting this wonderful debate together. Thank you to the current Student Council administration, President Richmond, Treasurer Barrows, and Secretary Zane, for inspiring me to become the leader that I am today. And lastly, thank you all for joining both in person and online, and hopefully by the end of this debate, I can earn your vote come election week. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from our treasurer candidate, Valeria Pavia.
Thank you, Professor Beckett. Thank you for everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us, those who are watching on YouTube, on the live stream, and those here in person. I'm Valeria Pavia, and I'm running for Treasurer of Student Council. I have currently served as sophomore representative and as freshman representative, and it is my honor to be working with the student body and to be running as treasurer. And I hope that I can get your vote and that we can work on continuing with clubs and budgeting.
And finally, we will hear from our secretary candidate, Evelyn Rosario Morales.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today and for those that are currently watching. My name is Evelyn Rosario Morales, and I'm currently the Student Council sophomore representative with 3 other members. Today I'm here to ask for your support to run for the next Student Council Secretary. My mission is for Student Council decisions to be organized, transparent, and accessible to all students. Thank you, and I hope that by the end of this debate, I can have your vote as the next Student Council Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you for your opening statements. Let's move on to our first round of questions for the candidates. Again, all candidates will have 2 minutes to answer their question and 1 minute to offer rebuttal to another candidate's answer. Question for the president? Presidential candidate?
Question 1. John Jay College is perhaps the most diverse student body of all CUNY colleges. And as the Student Council President, you will be leading the student body representing the college. How will you ensure that all voices, regardless of their status, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliations, etc., will be represented in your administration?
Thank you for that wonderful question, Rima. I think it's important to note that going into this presidency, I plan to do so with, number one, collaborations. I think going in, especially with the board and with the representative, having them collab with different departments on campus, different facilities, just to make sure that, you know, we bridge that gap when it comes to inclusion. I think that is really important also to make sure that when they're planning their events is centered around making sure that all voices are heard, and making sure that all students is represented, no matter the race, gender, you know, class standing, or whatever the other case may be. So I think definitely collabing with other departments, ensuring reps are meeting events when it comes to conclusion, and yeah, collabing with administration. Thank you.
Next question for the candidate for treasurer.
As Student Council Treasurer, you will serve as the Chief Financial Officer. How will you ensure clear communication of financial information between the Student Council and the college community?
Thank you for that question. As Chief Financial Officer, it's important that communication is brought across the community here at John Jay. And keeping bi-weekly meetings is important when we have our council meetings. So ensuring that we can keep communication with our student body, letting them know how much funding we have and what we can and cannot get is important to keep communication. And as treasurer, I hope that I can keep communication with all student council treasurers, club executives, treasurers, and that there is communication on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Question for the candidate for secretary.
What is one goal you would like to accomplish if elected as secretary to help the student body?
Thank you so much for that question. So one of my goals, of course, is to maintain transparency, but for the whole student body, I am currently planning with my fellow treasurer and president. I would like to host a full week of welcoming events to the student body. I believe that a lot of students, when they join the John Jay community, just don't know how to make connections with students. I want them to, you know, just have fun in college. I think that everything has to be to do with education. So that is still on the planning. I want to make sure that everyone knows student council, that we bring more tabling events to students because their voices are important and we should take them into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your answers to the first round of questions. Now on to round two of questions, and the first question is for the candidate for treasurer.
What is the most difficult decision you've had to make during a recent leadership position? How did you arrive at your decision, and what was the result?
Thank you for that question. As sophomore representative, I've had the experience where I've had hosted events where we had issues with bookings and supplies, but one decision that altered what my decision was when I decided to create the Giving Corner. I wanted to ensure that we provided as much as we can to students and student parents. I wanted to make sure that there was enough for students and student parents that we can give out, and the issue that I would say was the difficult process of it was having supplies arrive on time. I know that that's an issue that many clubs and organizations may face, but I do hope that I can help bridge a gap between having to have your event and deciding whether to have it or not overall. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is for the candidate for secretary.
Give me an example of a time, bless you, when you were able to successfully communicate with another person even when that individual may not have personally liked you, or vice versa.
Thank you so much. So as being member of the sophomore representative, we have come across a lot of difficulties. We do have our own responsibilities. We all have other clubs to take care of, attend. So we usually just sat down, had a communication, because at the end of the day, we are all here for the same purpose, which is to serve the student body. If we're not doing that correctly, then what are we here for? So communication is always the key. I think that when we have communication, we can reach a lot of positive outcomes. Yeah, thank you.
And the next question is the candidate for president.
If elected as president, how do you reassure students that all of your decisions will benefit them, and how transparent will you be to students?
Thank you for that question. When it comes to being transparent to the student body, I think it is important that you connect them where they are. So, for example, going into my leadership role, I plan to hold president's office hours, where students can access my office and access me to discuss matters that best surround the student campus, right? If it comes to if it's matters regarding a concern, or they want to plan an initiative or an event, they can always access my office, depending on whatever the president's office hours is. Can you repeat the first part of the question?
So is sorry. How transparent will you be to students is part two. And then how do you reassure students that all of your decisions will benefit them?
Yeah. So I think, again, working closely with my representatives and my rest of my e-board, just to make sure that all events are tailored towards a goal and a mission, and just ensuring that all these information is transparent. As you can hear, all of the candidates here are speaking about transparency for the next student council administration. So going forward, I think just making sure that all the events that we're planning is tailored towards a specific mission and goal, and ensuring that that information is transparent when it comes to the student body. Thank you.
And we move on to the final round of questions, or prepared questions. Question for the secretary candidate?
As student council secretary, what are the duties and responsibilities of your position?
Thank you for that question. My responsibility, as highlighted in the Student Council Charter, which are our bylaws that members of Student Council have to follow, my responsibilities are record and keep the official meetings of Student Council, secure all Student Council information, and most importantly, serve as the Committee on Commencement Activities Chair, which is a committee that I have proudly served for 2 consecutive years. My freshman year as a photographer and my second year as a designer. I will work with the treasurer to manage and coordinate the yearbook and commencement budget. My apologies. The secretary is also in charge of managing with the executive marketer our Instagram, which that's something we gotta look up to. Thank you.
The next question is for the candidate for president.
What experiences do you have working with the current and former administrators that would benefit you in this role?
Thank you for that question. As many of you may know, when I transitioned from high school to college, I was once a freshman representative alongside my candidates. We all served as freshman representative 2 years ago. And I've worked with the current president, actually, and the current treasurer, Indira Barrows and Jamela Richmond. So we've already established that gap when it comes to connection to events, connection to planning events, and executing events. Currently, I serve as the Vice President of the Student Council alongside President Richmond also and Treasurer Barrows. So we already have that set of norms established and how we can work together with our leadership roles. Not trying to like step on anyone else's role, but just making sure that we know what our roles are and executing that daily. Thank you.
And the next question is for the candidate for treasurer.
If you could change one thing about student council, regardless of feasibility, what would you change and how?
Thank you for that question. I think something that's very important within our student council body that needs, I think, work is definitely our teamwork bonding. Student council, we are put together as 50-plus members, and we all have a role to fulfill, but it's important that we all get to work together as a team. We often have our trainings and our team bonding experiences, events, and trips, but it's important that we all kind of keep communication within each other. We can't go out and serve our community if we don't know how to work within each other and how we can help provide for students. So it's important that we know how to work together overall as a student council body.
Thank you. And now, Rima, will you go to the debate question forum, or we can ask questions from the audience?
Yeah, there's two questions currently. The first question is for all of you to answer, and the question is, beyond just holding events, what structural changes will you make to ensure the Student Council is consistently hearing from commuter and evening students who are rarely on campus during traditional office hours?
I can go first. When it comes to our evening students, they're one of our main priorities, especially when it comes to having evening events. I would say definitely making sure that our grad representative tailor more events when it comes to the evening students, like tailor events towards them. And then when it comes to, sorry, repeat the first half.
So when it comes to, so the question is, beyond just holding evening events, what structural changes will you make to ensure the Student Council is consistently hearing from the commuter and evening students who are rarely on campus during traditional office hours?
Thank you. So yeah, as I was saying, collabing with the grad cohorts for sure, and collabing with the grad department, I think is really can be beneficial for us when it comes to making sure that all commuters' voices is heard. When it comes to the transparency and structure of Student Council, is my goal to work within Student Council in the next upcoming academic year. When it comes to structural organizations and internal work, I think that's where I'm tailoring our executive to be at, and then tailoring our reps to be more so external. So definitely collabing with the grad cohort and the grad department just to make sure that the grad commuters' voices are being heard and they're being included into our events and initiatives. Thank you.
So in my case, I would say we should do more tabling events if we want to hear what the John Jay community says. We usually hold this, we usually are on the atrium where we stand there, we wait for students to come and just share their concerns, either regarding Student Council or just the John Jay community overall. So I guess just keep that up and just doing it more consistently. Now regarding events, I believe that we should be holding more evening events, especially like Stephon Patterson have just stated. Just collaborating more with the graduate cohort to hold more afternoon events. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Meeting students where they're at, especially in the evenings and in the afternoons, is important. We need to have more open forums where students can come in and voice their opinions. They can come meet us in our office, they can come to us, but there are times where students in the evenings can't. They're grad representatives who are doing research projects, and it's important that they come to us in either contacting us through our emails or whatever the case is, but coming to open forums is the way that we can get students to come in and voice their opinions. Thank you.
Do you have another question, Rima?
Or should I take one from the audience and then,
Questions out here?
any questions in the live world? I'll bring it to you. Any questions? I know.
Okay, so I have a question for our treasurer, and my question is, you talked about student council not necessarily being like as close as we should be. So as treasurer, when you assume the role, what will you do to improve this issue within student council?
Thank you for that question. Most of the time when we are given into our roles, we often don't really get to know who is on the board. We are often questioning who is a transfer rep, who is a senior rep. So getting to have a meeting where we all individually get to introduce each other and what our interests are, kind of just to have a buddy or a friend who can help you within student council overall. Having a mentor along the way is important. So I feel like that's the most important way that we can help build our structure in student council.
Anyone else with a question?
Questions from the audience, anyone? There's another one.
Hi, this is a question for also the treasurer. You talked a little bit about what you will do to get more teamwork in. Can you talk a little bit about your plan of action when you do become treasurer on how you will push for more teamwork within the reps and student council?
Thank you for that question, Sar. So my plan isn't just to also build within our student council, it's also reaching outside through clubs and organizations. The foundation starts within our student council body, so it's important that we work together as a team and have that communication within so that we know how to answer questions when organizations and clubs come to us for questions, especially when it comes to paperwork and events and supplies. We know the answers beforehand, so that way there isn't a hierarchy as to who knows the answers to what. We all get to know the answers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so this question is, anyone could answer this question. So I had a question, right? So we have a few people here, and it's just selective people that's here. So one thing I did have is, how are we gonna create a more balanced representation of the student body, and how do you guys plan to properly engage student body, and how do you plan to get more information out there for them to actually know things like this is going on? Because this it's supposed to be more people here, more students, because you guys are the student leaders. So how do you plan on making more students involved in school community events? Yeah.
If I can answer that first. So thank you for that question. I was really hoping for somebody to ask that question. So I've noticed that we as student council rely a lot on our social media, but not everyone has access to our social media, and we cannot assume that they do. That's why my goal for this academic year is to be out there, to go to the students, to approach the students. I believe that hanging up posters, I don't know, but I don't stop to look at posters sometimes. So we should take that into consideration. We should go to students, tell them this is happening, this is what will be there. Come join us, have fun, make connections. Although I know that a lot of people are on Instagram, again, we cannot assure that everybody is on Instagram, so I'm hoping to go talk to students. Actually, one of my goals for this, also another goal that I have is to go out an hour before our student council meetings and just promote our posters, just say we have a student council meeting, come join us, and just meet us, see what we do, because what we do affects the student body, and they should know that. Thank you.
If I can just add on to what Evelyn mentioned, I think outreach is definitely one of the key parts in how we can go about addressing this issue. But then also when it comes to this recurring issue, it's important that we mentioned Cecil. I think like establishing a relationship with the Center for Student Involvement and Leadership to see how we can best bridge that gap when it comes to more student engagement for stuff like this. I think it's really also important to try to see if we can find a way in how we can blast events and initiatives out, especially meetings also to students via email. But again, this is speaking with Cecil and making sure that, you know, we kind of bridge that gap and find the best way in how we can kind of like help student engagement, because that's been an issue that I've been seeing since I've been here as a freshman. So thank you for that question and that concern.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question that's in the form, and this for all of you. Over the last few administrations, Student Council has been the spectacle of many misconceptions, rivalry, and controversy. How do each of you, in your roles, expect to combat these misconceptions and handle the pressure of scrutiny that is attached to the executive's role?
Thank you for that question. I couldn't agree better. When it comes to, you know, kind of like remodeling student council vision and what student council stand for, I think that I have to start from within. So that's why with my executive board and the representative going in next year, I think that it's important that we work on internal work first to see how we can address what's happening from within student council, because oftentimes the comments we hear is about, you know, what student council is doing from inside. So I think addressing the problem from within can be one of the potential ways in how we can try to address this issue, and then reaching out to students externally to see if, you know, that goal have been, if we've been doing better, and collect feedback from them essentially to see in how ways we can perform better as a student council.
I couldn't agree more with our future president. It's important that we work internally with fixing how we as a team can work together to provide more for our student council overall and the student body. As clubs and organizations come to us seeking for help, we kind of have to all know the answers to it. We all need to rely on each other when it comes to answers. It can't be just the executive board knowing the answers. It needs to have everyone's full support and beyond from there. Thank you.
Sorry, do you mind asking that question one more time? Thank you.
So the question is, over the last few administrations, Student Council has been the spectacle of many misconceptions, rivalry, and controversy. How do you, in your role, expect to combat these misconceptions and handle the pressure of scrutiny that is attached to the executive role?
Thank you. This year has been a really harsh year for us as student council. Not a lot of students haven't been happy with what we have been doing, but we as a student body, we work together. This is not only a decision. The decision that we put out is not only an executive decision, right? We work together. So the decisions that do go out is based on the whole student body. Now, the whole student council body. If you do not like how we are operating, you must come to us and tell us that, and we will try our best to fix it. But again, we are humans. We all make mistakes. If we're not told that we're making those mistakes, how are we supposed to fix them, right? So please have that communication with us. Go to our office, speak to us. We're there for you. And we want the best for our student body. Thank you.
Okay, so I have another question in the form. It's a little long, so I'm going to repeat it. In order of priority from top to bottom, top, most important, would you, from the position of Student Council Executive, advocate against all connections to ICE on campus if there's a proven majority of students against it? If so, what actions would you take? If not, what would it take besides a student majority for that to occur? That's question one. And it's for all of you.
When it comes to concerns as such, I think that it's important that we always refer to the Immigrant Student Success Center, especially the manager, Denise. I think bringing up issues as such to her, voicing these concerns to her first, and then potentially taking it to the president of the school, right, Carol Mason, to trying to see some ways on how we can best address the student voices and answer their questions surrounding these concerns. But I think working with Denise in the future to see, working with Denise in the future just to make sure that, you know, the student voices is being heard when it comes to ICE being on campus is really important and really essential for our board next year.
Thank you for the answer. And to follow up, I currently work at a nonprofit immigrant success center as well. So I know what it means when it comes to what the student body has to say on the stands of ICE. And it's important that we all look at the different aspects of who is going to be affected and who we need to look after. We can't control what will happen when ICE is in the building. We only need to look at how we're going to support our students. We, as much as we want to look into the matter, we need to support our students overall. We need to protect who is going to be harmed in these situations, and that's when our Immigrant Success Center comes into hand. Thank you.
I would like to agree with everything that have been said so far. We do try our best to protect our John Jay community, but there is so much we can do, right? We talk with those in power that can, contribute to this ICE matter. Controversies have been brought up this year as well, but we're gonna try our best this year to try and see if we can come up with some sort of solutions together and with those that are in power. Thank you.
Part 2 of the question. Many new student executives have had to go out of pocket or through other means to get funding for their clubs as a result of this year's student council. Would you attempt to prevent that from happening again? And if so, how? It's for all of you.
I can answer that directly. As treasurer, I myself have looked into clubs that unfortunately weren't able to receive any funding this year. So I understand what it means to work with almost what you have, and being a part of those organizations and working with them to kind of meet where their mission stands for their organization is important. So to look into the next year, it's prioritizing those who didn't get, not prioritizing, but looking at a way that they can be supported throughout their mission forward next year. We still have to give an opportunity and a chance to students who want to provide their leadership to students and how we can provide for them. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Student executive have raised this concern with myself and the current administration. So I think it's a really important question, and a really important matter to address, rather. Not necessarily the vision, but an idea that we have for student council in the upcoming academic year is more so focusing student council funds to fund clubs, essentially, right? I know oftentimes departments come for money, different resources, centers here come for money from student council, but making sure that student council have money within the budget to fund clubs throughout the entire year is something I'm looking forward for. Also working closely with COC and the chairperson to ensure that at least some funds are allocated for the entirety of this academic year, so whether that's for the fall semester and the spring semester, making sure that funds are left in the COC pool so that if student executive can work, student executive can work with funds in that budget rather than just blowing through it for the entirety of the semester, or the beginning of the semester, rather, sorry.
Like everybody have said so far, we want to make sure that every club gets at least something, right? We know that a lot of clubs didn't get anything this year. Our apologies for that, but we do have to take care of. We have so much clubs that we have to take care of, but we would try this year to make sure that everybody gets something. One of the things that I had in mind, which I have to discuss further with of the future executive members, is a way where everyone can get some sort of amount, either the same amount of money, or just a little bit for everybody. Thank you.
And the last part is, many students do not know what Student Council deals with or have any connections to it, and as a result are not represented by their Student Council. How, if at all, do you intend to resolve these issues in outreach?
I can answer this question. It's important that we form a committee as into reaching out to students, going there out in out in our campus, out to reaching to students. I mean, even if that means going all the way to Westport, I know that it's a building that often gets denied almost. It's important that we go out and reach to students. Forming that committee where there's a group of students, including one representative from from the student body, is important so that we can keep that communication clear. Thank you.
It's for everyone.
To add on to what Valeria was saying, I believe Evelyn mentioned it earlier. Having the reps table at least twice a month is something that we're trying to discuss so that we can bridge that gap when it comes to outreach. I think that it's also important when we get our vice president in the fall to try to have them, direct their work towards more presence on campus, right? And making sure that student council is reinforced of what we are and what we do as student council. And then also updating the website, possibly weekly or bi-weekly, just to ensure that our information stay accurate and that students have access to those.
Right. I also propose that we increase our outreach effort beyond just tabling once a month or twice a year, by implementing more consistent and visible interactions with students. I am to create more opportunities for direct communication with the student body, including informal conversations and forums to better understand student concerns, needs, and expectations of their representatives. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I have a follow-up on Zafon's response a couple minutes ago where you stated that having some money in the budget for clubs to get funding in the event of COC funds running out next semester, or next academic term, rather. But I do have a question. As student council representatives, you guys know the type of reputation that we have with some clubs and some cultural clubs as well. And it's not that the funds aren't there sometimes. Sometimes there is, but they aren't comfortable to come to ask. So how will you guys in your roles make all the clubs know that this is a space that they could come to ask? Because we have departments coming. We have 1 million people coming, so why aren't the clubs coming? How will you try to create that safe space for the clubs?
Thank you for that follow-up. The first thing in the top of my mind is working closely with the director of Cecil, potentially having her send out follow-up emails to the entire club executive every month or so, just making sure that our information stay accurate and we send it to them monthly is something that we could potentially do for the future. And then also working with REMA and the executive and the cohort leaders for each of the clubs, just so that they can be aware that money is here and money is here for the clubs.
I would like to follow up to Stefan. It's important that we keep that communication as well with the club executives, keeping that connection with letting them know how we can provide what is efficient and what will be helpful when it comes to their club. It's important that we look into different aspects of how they're being supported as well when it comes to the means of just student council and the student body overall. They might have their events and people will not know what their events are and who they are as a club. So it's important that we keep that connection. Thank you.
The other day, I actually did met a club that just didn't know the student council provided funds for them. And I guess we have to work more on that. The club should know that we are here to help them and assist them when it comes to budgeting and any other things they might need. So just promoting that is definitely what we have to focus on.
Just really quickly, as Evelyn just mentioned something, I think something that can really potentially help us in the future also is having the COC chair or someone that's from the COC committee at the training, right? To just make sure that those information is being shared in the beginning of the semester so that clubs can have access to it and aware that, you know, student council have funds that they can potentially get, is something that we can work closely with Cecil also for the incoming of the next executives.
So I have two different questions, one for the president and one for the treasurer. For the president, as it's seen that there is no vice president, so you being one man down in the executive team, how do you see yourself working alone without a vice president?
The clear answer to that is I'm not sure as yet. As you know, this is something that came as a surprise for us. No vice president working, but definitely collabing with my entire board and reps next semester, especially over the summer. I think we can find ways in how we can kind of like fill that role in the interim that the vice president is not there. But working over the summer, just to ensure that, you know, the vice president role doesn't slack and fall behind, but we also pick up that role as executives.
My second question to the treasurer, you have very big shoes to fill, as Indira Barros was holding down student council for 2 years. As someone that wants to be treasurer now, how do you fill these shoes?
Thank you for that question, and I want to share my gratitude to our current treasurer, Ms. Indira Barros. She really left a great legacy behind, and I look forward to working with her in the summer or in the fall for how our budget can look in the future. So I want to express my gratitude to our treasurer, and I look forward to also working with her in growing our sponsorships. I know we've had our current sponsorship with Red Bull, so looking forward to building on that with her next year.
I have a question. It's more of a personal question. So as like you guys are filling like big shoes for President Richmond, Indira Barros, and Zane Chowdhury, how do you manage that? How are you putting yourself as a student first and then a student leader? Or would you put student leader first and student next? Anyone can answer.
Is it for all of them or specific?
All of them.
Thank you for that question. I think oftentimes a student leader sometimes forget that we're a student first. So I think working again with the future board, just to have like workshops and like reminding, you know, the board and reminding us that we're student first and that, you know, our academics comes over events, can be a potential way in how we can reinforce that issue, right? I think it also, as you mentioned, is a personal matter. So we have to hold ourselves accountable at the end of the day when it comes to our academics and making sure that our grade is up to par, I would say, and then the student leader come after. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel. This is for anyone who wants to answer. A lot of clubs have events and they have food and there's always leftovers, and most of the time the food either goes to student council or like, I believe, like CUNY security. But I notice a lot of people I know from my college experience don't know where their food is. Like, honest, I have friends who just skip full-on breakfasts, full-on lunches, dinners, while I know there's free food somewhere. How are you going to ensure that the greater public will have more food accessibility, knowing to come to like these specific places to have free food and not have to worry about, oh, do I have to go for transportation or do I have to buy myself a lunch?
So, thank you for raising that important issue. I think it comes back to my point when it comes to collaborating with departments. You know, as clubs bring the food to student council sometimes, we can sometimes just have it there for students to come get, but something we can do moving forward is reach out to departments. So I know in the past, when food comes to student council, one of the executive or rep would call UMI, and they would have, you know, the students come there. So definitely reaching out to UMI when foods are there, you know, the LGBTQ, academic advisors and different departments, just so that we can reach that broader gap when it comes to students getting food.
I want to follow up to what Safan has stated. I completely agree with having that connection to letting people and students know where food is accessible at. It's important that we also can keep a designated area where people can already know where they can go check if there is food available there, especially when it comes during community hour or for our evening students as well. I know we have students who come in the afternoon and just want to know where food is accessible for them. So it's important that we keep a designated area where students know where to get their food.
Okay, I would say that, like everyone has said so far, having a designated area will be great. I think since every club, department hold different events at different times, we should kind of take some time to come together and bring this issue up. Where can students, when these events are done, the extra food, where should we place them? Where should students go and get some food? Because personally, I love myself some free food, respectfully. So I would love also to know where I can get free food sometimes, right? Because as a college student, wasting money is just not it. So yeah, just having a designated area where students can come get food, or even sometimes where it's like pizza or something like that, just go out to the student body and just, look, we have some pizza, you want some, you know? They would definitely enjoy that.
Okay, so my question is, how do you differ from the current administration, and also how do you plan on building a better relationship with club executives? And this goes to all.
Thank you for that question. I'm gonna answer the second part first. I think building a relationship with club executives is one of our main priorities for next semester and next academic year. And going about doing so, I think working closely again with COC and CECL, just to make sure that, the representative of student council and clubs, we work together essentially. I know I was speaking with someone recently and we mentioned potentially a meet and greet at the beginning of the semester. Like when we have trainings, maybe another day we can have a meet and greet where student council representatives and executives can join the club's executive and members, and we can have a mingle or a chat just to put faces to names and get familiar with each other. And I think that's one of the ways we can help bridge that gap when it comes to student council and club executives. And when it comes to how we differ from the current administration, I would say, like myself, Valeria, and Evelyn work closely as freshman reps our first year at John Jay, so we're kind of like similar. But when it comes to the different, we're kind of like different as in everyone have their own way in how they lead, and everyone have their way in how they go about doing certain stuff. So it's kind of different than how we approach in student council next semester and next academic year. Thank you.
To follow up to what Safan has stated, it's important that we make it a priority where we show out ourselves and our faces to the John Jay community. Myself personally, I want to make it a priority where I go visit a lot of the club's events and just see how it's working and what they're doing to make sure that they're filling their role as like in their mission of their club and their organization. I want to make sure that I can support in whatever way I can, whether that means if they're having any issues with catering, any issues with supplies, any way that I can help support. Even if the day of their event they need something that is last minute, whether that be supplies, they can always come to the council office and I'll be more than willing to help.
Do you mind asking that question again? I'm so sorry. Thank you.
How do you differ from the current board, and also how do you plan on building a better relationship with club executives?
Okay, so let me just say this the current year's executive board is great, but like Safan says, we do have different ways that we operate. I am more of an extrovert person. I like to go out to the students. I believe the current secretary is more like an introvert. So I want to make sure that I go out to students, even though when you hear secretary, you mostly hear behind a desk, right, behind the scenes. I don't want to be that type of secretary. I want to be out there, be with the students, listen to the students. And regarding connections with club members, I believe that having maybe like monthly meetings with executive could we could work something out like that. But we do have to discuss that with the future executive board to be able to get into, to give a little bit more information on that. Thank you.
Okay, here's a question from the forum, and it's for all of you. Despite the challenges, what are some things that you found to be successful serving in student council?
Something successful was definitely building up my leadership skills. I believe before I couldn't even speak in front of a crowd. Please ask Professor Beckett about that. He's gonna tell you everything. Yeah, I was not great at public speaking, but being exposed, joining student council, being exposed to speaking in front of students in events, really put my foot forward. I am more extrovert. I can have conversation with students without issues. Right now, I feel a little scared, but I'm feeling good, better than I thought I would be. So yeah, that's the best thing that I got from joining student council.
Being a part of student council taught me a lot for taking upon initiatives. I make it a priority where I can help provide as much as I can to the John Jay body. And one of my greatest achievements that I'm very proud to say was the Giving Corner. Helping students and student parents during a time in the holidays was a special key moment, providing not only clothes, toys, and food. It was being able to take on an initiative that I had no idea where to even begin. And I know there's many students here in John Jay that want to create their own initiatives and help the John Jay student body. So to be treasurer and to help students know how to even begin the process of paperwork when it comes to catering and supplies, I make it my priority to help students on that part.
Can you repeat the question one more time, please?
So the question is, despite the challenges, what are some things that you found to be successful serving on student council?
Yeah, I think something that I found successful, especially as a freshman rep and now vice president, is the kind of like the alignment when it comes to student council and administration. I think especially this admin, we've worked very hard to try to bridge that gap when it comes to administration and ensuring that, you know, the administration hears the needs of the student. So definitely working with administration is something that I can say we went above and beyond with this semester and last semester, and I'm pretty sure that's something we can work on even more next academic year.
Hello. I had a question kind of piggybacking off of a previous one in relations to food, but just in general, like promotion. The Wellness Center has an initiative, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, where they bring groceries onto campus for students, and I found out about it late into this semester, which has been very helpful to me, I'm sure to other students as well. And I wanted to know what you guys have in mind in regards of like promotion beyond social media and like posters. You guys have touched upon that a little bit, but also in collaboration with the Wellness Center. I did not know that it was the Wellness Center that was responsible for this initiative. I'm sure they have a lot of other ones that are very supportive for students. And what is your guys' idea towards getting that out so students are aware of these things going on campus?
I can answer that question. It's important that we keep that connection with the Wellness Center, especially on the means of posting on our social media in collaboration with the Wellness Center. Bringing out that reach to students to let them know that, hey, we have groceries here that are available to students. I myself just recently found this out 2 months ago, and it's important that we keep that collaboration with the Wellness Center, meeting with the board of the Wellness Center and letting them know that we are here to provide for students and that we can keep that connection with them. And we are looking forward as a whole executive board to meeting with the Wellness Center.
Just to add on really quickly to Valeria's point, as I mentioned earlier too, like blasting emails can be a potential way in how we can try to solve this problem. But something that I'm thinking of is how do we get students to know about these stuff instead of these platform stuff, right? So I'm thinking of maybe the Wellness Center is an idea for the Wellness Center essentially, reaching out to professors and like department chairs and letting them know that, this is what's happening and this is what we have here at the Wellness Center, so that they can now share with their students in the classroom, can be a potential way in how we can help bridge that gap. Thank you.
If the Wellness Center wants to do this, I was thinking that we can definitely do a collaboration with keep it consistent, not just a one-day thing. Just keep it consistent, just a collaboration where our student council representatives, as well as the executive members, can promote this, handing out flyers, going out to the students, because like I said, social media, and like you stated, social media, not everybody has access to social media. So I believe that going out to students and, doing that collaboration with the Wellness Center will be beneficial.
This question is for the Vice President. Pardon? For the Vice President. Oh, my bad. For the President. My question was, we've already seen how you have reigned as Vice President. So when you become President, what changes would you make so students won't feel like we've seen him as Vice President, we've seen him as President? The environment hasn't really changed, it's still been the same thing. What changes would you bring to separate those two reigns to make you feel like, okay, yeah, there's a clear change?
Definitely. Thank you for that answer, for that question, rather. But what I'm thinking right now is two things. One, my vision is more so internal work, whereas as Vice President, I worked externally, like meeting students where they are. More so within Student Council, we'll be meeting the reps where they are, right? But having the reps, representatives, and the different liaison, trying to like bridge that external gap is where I'm looking at. So please, you might not be seeing me as much as Vice President, but I will be there, right? But I think more so my goal is to work internally next semester and next academic year. But you will definitely be seeing the reps and different liaisons. Thank you.
It's me again. As John Jay students, we're supposed to be fierce advocates for justice. And I particularly have noticed a rise in Islamophobia, given the fact that one of Palestinian movement has been threatened with a death campaign. SJP has been blocked about 6 times on the Instagram account, and I know that the Muslim community also had difficulties setting up for Eid, and I know one of our speakers were complained to be problematic, even though he's just a sheikh, imam. I'm wondering, what will you do for the Muslim community and the greater advocacy for Palestine going forward in your administration?
Thank you for that question. This also goes back to my point when it comes to collaborations. Collaborating with the department, the department Cecil, and ensuring that these issues are addressed and the concerns are heard, is something we can do for next semester. I know our reps are usually collaborating. I know upcoming there is like a collaboration with SJP and the different cultural clubs here at John Jay. So definitely strengthening that goal for next year is a way in how we can work towards helping address those concerns. But again, collaborating and making sure that Cecil and Student Council stay as a bridge when it comes to the club aspect is potentially one of the best ways we can address that.
Okay, this is the last question before we go into closing.
Hi again, everyone. So my question is, as student council, I've heard a lot of students speak that they think that we're like low-key like the teacher's pet, that we are doing things in the eyes of the administration and departments and not necessarily with students' interest at our best interest. How do you guys, and you know internally that that's not the case, where we've had departments who've chosen to oppose us. How do you guys expect to go to support students in events that departments do not want to stand our choices or policies that are directly impacting students? And how do you expect to communicate this with the student body?
Can you repeat the last part of the question really quick?
How do you intend to communicate this with the student body and to also speak within students' rights while opposing the departments?
When it comes to the opposing the rights of departments and ensuring that student voices are heard. I think and I know I keep saying it, but collaboration is essential for the upcoming academic semester, right? Making sure that all our information is transparent on how we make our decisions is something that our administration will prioritize for sure. And updating our website, making sure that everything that happens within student council is being transparent out there with the student body. And you mentioned the first part of your question was, right, and right. So Professor Beckett can probably attest to this, that of course we're not teachers' pet. We have to do the same as you have to do within the classroom. We don't get no special treatments, I wish. But when it comes to being teacher's pet, I will strongly deny those accusations because we have to do the same as every single student here at John Jay. Thank you.
And with that, we move to closing statements. We'll have the closing statement first from the secretary candidate, but just to remind you, all candidates will have 1 minute and 15 seconds each for their closing statements. And we'll start with the secretary. 1 minute and 15.
Thank you. Thank you all for taking your time to be here with us today. It would be an honor if I could get your support as your next council secretary, my apologies. I would like to provide you with important student council information that affects you and to be a resource for my John Jay community. If elected as the next student council secretary, I promise to inform the student body and be a support for all of you. If you would like someone that is organized, transparent, and a leader, I ask for your vote as the next student council secretary. Please remember your vote does make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our moderator, Professor Beckett. I want to just say thank you to everyone who showed up here. I know that not many people showed up here today, but it's important that us as a student council body, we reach out to students and let them know that this is an important time where we need to advocate what we want for our student body next year. It's important that we also look at other organizations and clubs into how we can meet with them next year. So I do look forward to meeting with departments and clubs and working with Cecil department. And I also want to give thank you to Ms. Rima Douglas for being part of the election process. I just want to say that it's important you go out there and vote when it's April 13th through the 16th from 9 a.m. to 5. It's important you tell a friend, go out and vote. Your voice matters. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear from our presidential candidate.
Thank you, Professor Beckett. We want to say thank you, of course, for being here today, both in person and online. I think it's important to note that when it comes to leadership, it's more so about building systems that outlast one person, right? And with next student council administration, I plan to do so with structure, accountability, transparency, and an impact that lasts for decades. Hopefully, by the end of this debate, now, come April 13th through April 16th, as Valeria mentioned, 9 through 5, we can get your vote and to be the next student council executive. Before I close, I would love to leave you with a quote that have always inspired my leadership. Simon Sinek once said, "Leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge." And I plan to do so with this phenomenal team in the 2026-2027 Student Council Administration. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us today and participating in this debate. Good luck to all the student council candidates in the upcoming 2026-2027 Student Council election. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you all for coming out. Reminder, election week is April 13th through the 16th. There will be a table in the atrium, so if anyone wants to stop by to vote there, you can tell a friend. Voting does count, and your votes do matter.